Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into a topic that's not just important but absolutely vital for every pastor and church leader in Kenya. Now, the legal challenges and opportunities facing our ministries are many, and I want to talk about them today. I know the word legal might make you want to click away, but trust me, what we are about to discuss could be the difference between your church thriving or closing its doors. So stick with me, because these are not just stories, they are lessons that could save your ministry. Before we jump in, I want to remind you that this series is all about breaking down the Presidential Task Force report on religious organizations in Kenya. If you've been following along, you already know we are going deep into what this report means for us as pastors and ministry leaders in the country of Kenya. And remember, these videos are very high level overviews. They're not a comprehensive video on the report. So if you want the full report with all the nitty-gritty details, just shoot me an email and I will send it your way. Let us kick things off with something that should grab every church leader's attention. Now, here is the statistics that I don't want to talk about, but we have to talk about. Over 2,000 churches have been deregistered in Kenya in the past few years. Yes, you heard me right. 2,000 churches have been deregistered. Now, imagine for a moment, that's not just a number. It's 2,000 communities of faith, 2,000 places where people gathered to worship Jesus, and now those places are shut down. Why? Because they failed to comply with government regulations. This is not just about paperwork, people. It is about the survival of your church or your ministry. And here is where things get real. Lack of awareness about these regulations can lead to devastating consequences. I am going to share some stories with you. Real, bitter lessons that pastors and ministry leaders have had to learn the hard way. And these stories are not just tales of caution. They are opportunities for you and I and for all of us to grow stronger and more resilient in the way that we do ministry in Kenya. So stay with me, because each story holds a key lesson that could save your church. Let us start with Pastor Samuel from the Light of the World Ministries in Kisii. His church was thriving, growing congregation, active community outreach, and big plans for the future. But in 2019, when the government rolled out new re-registration requirements, Pastor Samuel was blindsided. He did not know anything about the new financial and structural standards, and because of that, his church was among the first to be deregistered in Kisii County. Imagine that. You are a pastor building something from the ground up, only to have it taken away because of lack of awareness. His congregation was left without a place to worship, and the ministry that he had poured his heart and soul into for very many years was suddenly in limbo. It was a harsh lesson in the importance of staying informed and the importance of staying compliant. The Bible says in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 11 and 12, these things happened to them as example and were written down as warnings for us, on whom the culmination of the ages has come. So if you think you're standing firm, be careful that you do not fall. It is very easy to ignore the fire on your neighbor's home until the fire catches the grass thatch on your own roof. I am here to warn you, before the fire gets to your homestead, to get informed and get compliant. Next, let's talk about a case that you probably heard about. Pastor Nganga, or James Nganga of Neno Evangelism, is not a stranger to many people who live in Kenya. He's a pastor that does not need any introduction, because he is a pastor of one of the largest churches in Nairobi, Kenya. His church became the center of multiple legal battles, because back in 2015, Pastor Nganga was involved in a fatal road accident, and that put him under a harsh spotlight. But the trouble did not end there. Allegations of fraud and financial misconduct soon followed him, and the media had a field day with this. They like it when pastors fall. This case was not just about one pastor. It led to a broader crackdown on what the government called rogue pastors. And what was the fallout? The fallout was stricter regulation that now affect all of us. This story is a stark reminder that what happens in one church can have a ripple effect across the entire church and ministry landscape in Kenya. Now, here is a story that's even more tragic. Pastor Paul Mackenzie of Good News International Church in Malindi. We talked about him in last week's video, and the link is in the description below if you missed it. Now, in 2023, his church made headlines for all the wrong reasons. Pastor Mackenzie convinced his followers to fast to death, promising them that it was the only way to meet Jesus. The shock and horror of this story were felt nationwide, but it did not stop there. An investigation revealed severe financial irregularities within the church. Funds that were meant for the church's operations were siphoned off for his own personal use. Now, this scandal did not just hurt those involved. It led to a massive outcry for more financial transparencies in all churches. And guess what? The government responded with even tighter regulation. Now, what does this story tell us? This story shows us that financial accountability is not just a legal requirement, it's a moral one for those of us who call ourselves ministers of pastors of local churches. Now, the fourth story, I want to talk about land ownership, something that might not seem like a big deal until it is a big deal. Now, in 2020, the Deliverance Church of Kayole in Nairobi faced eviction after a long and painful land dispute. The church had been on this land for years and years and years. But suddenly, their claim to that land was challenged by another person, and they nearly lost everything. This was not just an isolated incident, because the evangelical church in Kilifi County found itself in a similar battle, caught in a legal limbo of a land ownership that dragged on for years and years in the court of law. Now, these stories are not just about land. They are about security. Without secure land ownership, your church could be uprooted at any time. And in today's legal landscape, that is a risk that none of us can afford to take. Now, if you're like me, after hearing all these stories, you might be feeling a bit overwhelmed. But here is where it gets interesting. These challenges are tough. Yes, they're very tough. And as tough as they are, they also open up incredible opportunities for us as church leaders. Now, listen to that. They open up incredible opportunities for us as leaders. Now, let me tell you how. Opportunity number one, they strengthen legal and financial structures in the church. Now, first, these challenges push us to build stronger legal and financial structures. Imagine having a church that's not only compliant with the law, but also a model of transparency and trust. When your financial records are in order and your legal documents are airtight, you are not just surviving, my friend, you are thriving. And that is what I want for all of us as we do ministry in Kenya. This is your chance to create a foundation that can withstand any storm. The second opportunity, these challenges will help us to build stronger community through accountability. The word accountability might seem like a burden, but it's actually a blessing in disguise. When your church operates transparently, you build a community that feels valued and they feel that they are invested in. And when your congregation trusts you, they are more likely to support and invest in your ministry, not just with their time, but with their resources as well. And this includes money. Many church members do not talk about their dissatisfaction with your church, but they show it somehow. How do they show it? They show it in two ways. They either walk away and leave your church, or they stop giving. Those are the two ways that they show their dissatisfaction. They either walk away and leave, or they stop giving. Opportunity number three, leadership development and capacity building. Leadership is another area where we can turn challenges into opportunities. These tough times are a call to develop leaders who are not just spiritually strong, but they are also equipped to navigate the complexities of today's world. Now, here is this. Imagine having a team of leaders who can guide your church with wisdom, integrity, and a deep understanding of both the legal and spiritual matters within the church walls. That would be so awesome. And then number 4, the fourth opportunity, advocacy and influence. And this is where things get really interesting. Understanding these regulations put us in a position to influence them. Instead of just reacting to government policies, what if we could help shape them? Pastors' voices are needed in the midst of these conversations. We need to hear pastors talking. By becoming informed and organized, your church can advocate for policies that protect Christian freedoms in Kenya while still ensuring accountability. The fifth opportunity is enhancing community outreach and impact. So let's not forget outreach. Compliance often means demonstrating the impact your church has on the community. This is your chance to design programs that not only serve your communities, but also elevate your church's standing in society. Imagine being known not only as a place of worship, but also as a pillar of community empowerment. It is high time that as pastors, we get involved in the things that affect our people and their community's well-being. Let's get involved. We cannot just stand by and let other people decide what's good for Christians and Christianity in Kenya. After all, we have more pastors than politicians in Kenya. We have more churches than government institutions in Kenya. So if we place ourselves strategically, we can be a force to be reckoned with. So, what's the takeaway here? These are not just stories, they are lessons. They show us that the landscape is changing and we need to adapt. But more than that, they show us that these challenges are actually opportunities in disguise. Opportunities to build stronger churches, to live with greater integrity, and to have lasting impact on our 8 to 9 communities. Let's not wait for another crisis to hit. Let's take these lessons to heart and turn them into actions that will strengthen our ministries for generations to come. If you want to dive deeper into these topics, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I am here to help. And remember, the full report is available if you need it. Just drop me an email. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when the video is up. Thank you for watching, and God bless you as you lead your ministry with wisdom and integrity.